So welcome everybody to another Meetup Live event. My name is Emily Trieste. I'm the events marketing intern here at Meetup. Today we are joined by special guest, certified career coach Michelle Perchuk. She will provide insights on navigating the hidden job market and tips on how to bypass job boards and online applications. You will discover how to create opportunities and take your career to the next level. So before we get started, I'm just going to share a few slides. The event guidelines. So you will not appear in the video. You can only see us. We can't see you. There's also a mute courtesy, so you all are muted. But if you have any questions, just submit them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, as well as closed captioning is available. To turn it on, you can click on the live transcription icon at the bottom of your screen and select your preference from there. For the agenda for today, we're just doing quick introductions, followed by a presentation with Michelle and a quick Q&A session at the end. So to introduce Michelle, Michelle is a professor of professional life at Fairleigh Dickinson University. She teaches financial literacy and prepares for the transition from academic life to professional life. As a certified career coach and profession coach, she has impacted over 5,000 lives as she has coached professionals to achieve their career aspirations. Michelle has authored a book on the evolution of recruiting called Swimming in the Talent Pool and was featured in a number of Forbes magazine's articles. She's recruiting and talent development expert and founder of MTV Coaching. She has been instrumental in developing and recruiting talent companies like Bank of America, Time Warner, Canon, Weight Watchers, and TIAA. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being here and helping everybody on this call. I can't wait to see what you have for us, and I'll hop back in for Q&A at the end.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I want to thank Meetup for hosting. And I'm super excited to be with you here today. And with people from all over the world. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm so excited to share my expertise with you. Just like Emily said, I did spend a very, very long time in executive recruiting, in executive search, and I have a lot of information that I could share with you today that I am so excited to share with you today. And we can begin the slideshow that I have prepared. It's a very interesting twist. Many of you will really enjoy it and like it, and it's very easy to follow along. I will include many examples from the clients that I have worked with over the years and have been able to coach them to get them the job of their dreams. So let's get started. This is Michelle Perchuk speaking. I'm a certified career coach by ICF, International Coaching Federation, and Forbes. And this webinar is called A Career Coach's Guide to Job Hunting. Next slide, please. So who is this webinar for? I'm sorry, administrators, is there any way that you could put it in slide mode and make it a little bit bigger? Great, thank you so much. So who is this webinar for? This webinar is definitely for anyone who's interested in making a career move. It's for people who are submitting online their resumes through job boards, or they're submitting their candidacy through job portals and company websites. It's professionals and people who really want to take advantage of the market, and it's heating up because many employers are creating many exciting jobs as we speak. It's for individuals that are perhaps working for full-time or in school full-time, and they just can't seem to time manage effectively where they can allocate 1 or 2 hours for their job search. So you will learn some tips if you're in that category. It's also for people that have been interviewing a lot, that have done the first phase interviews, but never seem to get to round 2. It's for people who are stressed, because of the pandemic, because of how the global job market has been affected. It's for people who are overwhelmed with all of these positions that are available, and they just don't know what roles to apply for. And most of all, it's for people who have a fear of missing out. Next slide, please. So a few words about the situation in the job market, because I hear this from my clients every single day. The situation is stressful. The situation is very overwhelming, but I will tell you, you're not alone. Everyone feels this way, all professionals, all college students, either your entry level, mid-level, or seasoned. The job market is very complicated today. The statistics are a little scary if you want to know the truth, because people who are applying online through job portals and through company websites really see very little results. And the statistics are less than 2% of people who are applying blindly without talking to anyone really get an interview request. There is a myth that you have all these exciting job boards and you have all these company websites that are ready to accept your resume. They're ready to pass you on your application, your candidacy to an employer. There's a myth that that's all you need to do. Just go online, apply on a job board, and you will find the job of your dreams. But the reality is that the results are very low, and the yield on the energy that you put in sending your resume to hundreds and thousands of jobs, the yield is very low, and it's very dangerous because people get depressed, people get discouraged, and people really lose their confidence. Excuse me. So what is the way to avoid all of this? The way to avoid it is really to take the guessing out of the job search strategy and create a strategy for yourself that will keep working for you no matter what phase you are of your career, whether you're going from college into your first job or you are already on a career path and you just want to be promoted. I will share with you today a system that I have simplified. It works, and it's so easy because the hints are really right outside of your window. Next slide, please. So what will you get from this presentation? You will definitely get an easy system that you could follow every day. You will get insights from me who has been in the recruiting field for close to 2 decades, and you will know how to navigate the hidden job market. You will pick up tips and you will learn how to create your own career opportunities and not rely so much on the job boards. You will actually learn how to bypass the job boards and only look at them sometimes to gather intelligence and while you're doing your research. You will discover how to gain control of your own professional fate and how you will gain control of the actual job search, how you will happen to the job search and not the job search happening to you. You will see what kind of results are possible. I will share some success stories that will get you excited. And most of all, you will be closer to landing the job of your dreams. Next slide, please. So what I said earlier, the winning system honestly is right outside of your window. And what's outside of our window? The 4 seasons. So I call it the 4 seasons system. So each season is identified with a particular season in our everyday life, but I've also associated with a particular phase that you encounter in your job search. You can do this on your own. If you getting a new job is not urgent, you could try it casually on your own over a certain period of time. But if your situation is more urgent and you want to be in a new job later this year, this is perhaps a way for you to try the system, but also get professional help, perhaps coaching or some kind of mentorship that will keep you accountable as you go from phase to phase. So let's see what in this webinar about the 4 seasons you could start applying to your job search today. Next slide, please. So what is the season system? The season system is 4 distinct phases that are identified with the particular season that we see outside of our window. The pattern is very clear, and it keeps the process in line as we're passing from one phase to another. It's very easy to follow, and you will never forget it because it will be happening around you. So you'll know what to do in winter. You'll know what to do in summer. Each step will be identified later on in the presentation with action steps, and you will see yourself progress in your job search journey as well as through the seasons. The most important thing is that I ask you that you focus and you try to apply the tips that you will learn today to your job search strategy. So let's see, what do winter, spring, and summer have to do with your job search? Next slide, please. Winter. I'm in the New York City area, and right now it's 28 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so it's winter. But I know many of you are around the world and you may be encountering different seasons. But when you're in winter, what is the first thing that we tell ourselves? Not to rush and not to panic, and to really hunker down and stay in and not be outside of the cold. So while you're staying in, this is the perfect time to research the type of industry you want to work with, the type of role you want to be doing, and the kind and the type of companies that you actually dream to work for. The process could be a little bit overwhelming, but try to relax and reflect. What is it about that role that's getting you excited? What is it about that industry that is getting you excited? Are you fascinated with healthcare? Are you passionate about cryptocurrency? What is it that you want to learn, and where do you envision yourself? Then the next step during winter that makes sense is to plan, strategize, and really think about it. Use this time as a time for self-discovery. Ask yourself the difficult questions. Why is it I want to get into cryptocurrency? Why is it that I want to work for an e-commerce company? Or why is it that I want to work for a movie studio? Just for example. And if you have a difficult time navigating through this time, perhaps this is the time when you want to hire a coach where they can help you gain career clarity, where they can help you get reconnected to your core values and your professional values. During the winter, it's the perfect time to design your game plan. There's a typo here, I apologize. Game plan. And it's time to put together that list of companies that you feel passionate about, that are very interesting to you, and you would really do anything to work there. Use this time to highlight your skills, to figure out if you have any missing skills, so that you can spend the time to get additional certifications or education to really get yourself ready for the next phase. Now let's get ready for spring. Next phase, please. Next slide, please. Now it's spring, and what do we see outside? We see flowers popping up. Flowers, fruit trees, everything is blossoming around us. We know that the planning and the preparing is over. And now it's time to discover the hidden job market. Now it's time to plant some seeds. So I just want to say a couple of things about the hidden job market. Many people who are looking for a job think that it's a secret place that you go to, a portal, a website, or things like that. But it's really not a place. It's a journey that you go through. And it really emerges as you start planting the seeds. You start planting the seeds with people that you know, with your network, and so forth. So it's something that emerges as you plant your seeds. Remember, be patient. The seeds do come to fruition. And also, not all seeds actually come up and become flowers. So understand that some seeds that you will plant will not come to anything, and that's okay. You don't need many seeds. You just need one amazing job. You just have to be patient and trust the process. So let's take a look at some places where you could actually start planting those seeds that would lead you to the hidden job market. So many of you belong to alumni organizations from universities and colleges that you attended. It's very important to get re-engaged with those organizations and start showing up. There are many networking events that are cataloged by industries and sectors. There are many networking events that are virtual, that are easy to attend, or some events are starting to happen in person. All depends where you are around the world. You could use LinkedIn to reconnect with old colleagues and old bosses. This is where I just have to share with you an amazing example that I heard about from my clients a couple of weeks ago. I was working with this gentleman who was really down and out. He got turned down by Amazon, by a couple of tech companies, and he was quite depressed that he wasn't going to get the job that he loves. I instructed him to start reaching out to people that he worked with from his prior jobs and to his old bosses. And during this journey of reaching out to old colleagues, he reconnected with someone that said, oh my God, we just had a resignation in my team and we're looking for another CPA. Can you send me your resume right away and I will walk it over to my boss? This young man, within 2 weeks, had an amazing offer that he was super excited about. If he wasn't instructed to start planting those seeds, he would have continued to submit his resume online and just wait there for miracles to happen. He decided to take control of his job search and he started planting those seeds and he got the result that he wanted. So this will show to you that there is a job out there for you that you're going to love. You just need to have a strategy on how to go and get it. So there are other distinct things that are important for us to remember about spring. And with spring comes spring cleaning. And with spring cleaning, I like to call it, take out your old resume, take out your old cover letter and give it a refresh. That's one of the things that I do with many of my clients. I help them revamp their resumes, show them how to make them terrific. There are a couple of things I could share with you today about resumes that really get noticed, either through job portals or through job boards or by hiring managers or by HR managers. Your resume needs to have a very clear summary that is going to capture the essence of you, who you are as a professional, and some of your achievements. Your resume must have a list of all of your skills and competencies and your experience in chronological order. But most importantly, it needs to have an objective. Don't let the new employer or the hiring manager guess what job you're applying for. State your objective clearly. If you're a CPA, you're looking to obtain a position as an accountant at a Big 5 accounting firm. If you're a software developer, you're looking to obtain a position as a software developer at a tech company on the West Coast. Make it as clear as possible so when people see your resume, they know exactly what you're looking for. Many professionals find it challenging communicating what they're looking for, and then they get very frustrated that they don't get the job of their dreams. Well, it's a logical thing. If you're not communicating clearly what you're looking for, you're not going to find it. So the first place that I recommend for you to really gather your thoughts and put it down on paper is on your resume and in your objective. So remember, a resume is that first thing that you need to do when you're about to embark on a job search, but a resume is just a piece of paper if you don't have a strategy. Next slide, please. So you've planted those seeds, and many of those seeds are starting to come up, and they're becoming flowers, and they're becoming plants. So we're in summer now, and it's all about diving in, and it's all about enjoying the season and taking action. So as we get out there and we start navigating through this new reality that we created for ourselves, through relationships, through conversations, what do we do next? What do we focus on? So most importantly, from this webinar, I would really like for you to understand that when you're applying, it's more important to focus on quality and not quantity. Submitting your resume hundreds of times and not hearing anything back, I mentioned earlier, is something that is not advised while you're in a job search, because as you don't hear back from potential employers and managers, you get discouraged. So during the springtime leading into summer, focus on really bringing the quality into your job search. Have meaningful conversations that would lead you to creating your own opportunities, like in the example about the young man that I shared with you about. During summer, keep networking, keep checking in your network, and keep planting more seeds, keep checking in on the seeds that you planted in the spring. Just reach out to people, follow up, keep practicing. If you connected with an old colleague and it doesn't seem like they're in that field anymore, or they really can't provide any insight to you, be authentic. Come across authentic and kind, and ask them if they could recommend someone for you to speak to. Ask them if they could make an introduction. Ask for it with confidence. I know many executives of all ages around the world really have a problem asking for those recommendations and asking for those introductions. This is the powerful work that I do as well. I actually coach many of my clients on how to be very professional and very authentic when you're asking for things, not to come across like you're looking to use your contact. There are many tactics that I have developed that will make you feel confident asking for recommendations and introductions, and people will actually be glad to help you. And this is where miracles happen. And miracles happen in the hidden job market. Don't forget, it is an exciting time. So try to have fun as you're reconnecting with old colleagues. If you feel awkward setting up a meeting with somebody that you used to work for or somebody that you used to work with, and you feel that it's too professional that you're reaching out to them to set up a meeting, guess what? Make it more casual, make it more fun, and say, let's set up a virtual coffee and just get reconnected. Just wanted to make sure that you're safe during the pandemic, that everybody's fine in your family. Come from an authentic place, come from a place of kindness, and people will feel it and people will want to help you. Most importantly, once you've had that first conversation, follow up. If you had that one virtual coffee, get back in touch with that person in 30 to 60, 90 days. Share an article, maybe share with them that you decided to work with a career coach. Talk to them about some things that you're seeing in the job market. Share with them and make it a two-way street. During the summer is the perfect time to really build those meaningful relationships, and those relationships will lead you to potential interviews and the ability to create these amazing opportunities for yourself. Next slide, please. Now fall is here. You've planned in the winter, you've planted in the spring, and you have nurtured all of your leads and all of your connections over the summer. And you got out there and you had some fun. Now is the time when you gather the fruits of your labor. And you gather the fruits from your labor from tapping into the hidden job market that you created for yourself. Because you had those meaningful conversations. You asked your contacts for their advice. You reached out to people that you knew. You got introduced to people that you did not know. And you really increased your network. You were clear and you communicated your objective of the kind of job that you want to get and the kind of industries that you want to work in. And once you've done all of that, things started happening for you. You started getting interviews. You started going from phase 1 interview to phase 2. And at this point, it's time to evaluate all of those opportunities and start getting some offers. Once those offers will come, it's very important to make sure that you ask the right questions, to make sure that you are accepting the right role. You want to make sure that the company culture is what you're looking for, that they treat their employees right, that they will promote you from within, that the salary range is in place, and that you're going to get amazing benefits as an employee. While you're evaluating your offers, while you're bringing it full circle to accept one particular offer, many clients choose to hire a negotiation coach at that point, where a coach can help you negotiate a higher salary. I had a client a couple of months ago that is C-suite executive, and she hasn't worked for a while, and she was very quick to accept the first number that the employer gave her. Luckily, she was working with me, and I really asked her, please do not accept the first number that they give you. Go back to them and negotiate with them. Try to get 10 to 15% more in your salary. And I showed her how to do the research to show what her skills are worth in the marketplace. So with my guidance and support, she went back and forth, and actually received $25,000 more in her base salary. Now, honestly, I call that a miracle. She tapped into her hidden job market, she negotiated with guidance, and she really got her dream job. I also advise that through this journey, following all the seasons, it's really important for you to observe how you have grown as a professional, because all of these skills that I spoke to you about today will be important for you as you continue progressing in your career. So notice how you've grown when you talk to people. Notice how you started communicating more clearly. Notice how you conduct yourself in meetings and you come across more confident. Reflect on what you've learned about yourself and now start bringing that into this new amazing job, into your new role. Definitely be connected on your personal values, on the impact that you want to continue creating in the workforce as a professional. And most of all, if there were people that were insightful to you along the way, people obviously who recommended you and people who introduced you to other influencers, don't forget to be grateful for those people. Send them thank you notes and really show appreciation. And most of all, put it out there and tell them, if you ever need help from me, I will be here for you as well. Next slide, please. So now you got that exciting job. You took hints from nature and you followed the process and you developed an amazing strategy that led you to the job of your dreams. I bet you think this system is over, the cycle is over. Well, guess what? The process is not over. The cycle starts all over again. You're no longer looking for a new job, but you're looking to be better in your existing job. So once again, the seasons start all over again. You hunker down and you start the process again. You focus and you immerse yourself and you do your research while you are in your new role. You're getting acquainted with the new environment, with your new boss, with your new teammates. You set new goals and you plant new seeds. You start developing new relationships with your colleagues, and you are focusing on becoming a contributor to your team. You have fun with building relationship with the team and with people in your organization. And then finally, the last season is fall, where you get the fruit, you benefit from the fruits of your labor, and you get recognized and rewarded for the hard work that you've put in. Next slide, please. So I really enjoyed this opportunity to share with you just a very small percent of what I know, the skills that I have developed being in the executive search field and in being a career coach. And now you have the information that you need to start navigating confidently through your job search. Go ahead. I wish you luck in creating your own opportunities. And once again, don't forget to stay focused and take all the tips from nature, because the phases of your job search are right outside of your window. You could find many tips that I share with my entire community on Instagram under Michelle Perchuk. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's a lot of interesting content that I share on LinkedIn. And you could always message me on LinkedIn if you have any specific questions. And most of all, if you want to get in touch with me, here's my email address. There's also a lot of information on my website. I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have right out after this webinar or for the months to come. So thank you so much to Meetup. Thank you so much to everyone around the world. More than 700 people are with me this afternoon. And I wish each and every one of you, if one of these tips help you in getting your job, I think that my work is done. So thank you again. And now I think it's the part of the meeting where you could ask questions.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us such helpful tips. I love how you laid it out by season. So if people are feeling lost or overwhelmed, they can kind of just look at what season they're in and then just go from there. So we do have a lot of questions coming in, so we can get started with that. So Fernando asked, how can we get a job as freshers if every job they ask for experience, even though it's only been 1 to 2 years of experience?
Okay, so I will answer this question because I answer this question for my students every day. As Emily mentioned, I am a professor at a business school in New Jersey, and I teach professional life. And I advise my students that even though they don't actually have work experience, they do have experience. Their career in school is just like having a job. It's only a job pays you. You pay your school or you pay the university to be enrolled there. So when employers ask my students, tell me about your experience, one of the first things that I teach them to say is that I've treated my years at school as though I was working already. I have a supervisor, that's a professor. I have my classmates who are my teammates on the project, and I am responsible for a deliverable. I'm responsible for a term paper, or I'm responsible for passing the exam, which is just like you do at work. So there really is no difference between school life and work life. There's only one difference. The employer pays you. You have to pay the school to attend. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that's definitely helpful. I mean, I just recently graduated college, and I know I've definitely faced that in the past, where thinking you don't have enough experience, but college you do learn a lot.
Absolutely.
Robert asked, do companies really care about cover letters anymore?
Yes, they absolutely do. And they may not tell you that, but if you are having a conversation with someone and you're following up with a resume, or you have to apply online because that's how a company manages their applicants, there's always a space for a cover letter. So I really want you to be able to populate all of those fields and put a cover letter. Cover letters have changed. It's not like dear sir or madam, I look forward to working at your company. There's a different format that is very effective. I advise my clients to really highlight their skills, like leadership skills, collaborative skills, creative skills, and really show how those skills are aligned with the actual job description. I'm not telling you to rewrite a cover letter for every job that you apply to, but have maybe 2 or 3 to make sure that they are aligned with your objectives.
I was actually just going to ask you another question that came in from Caroline, and she asked pretty much what you just answered. If you need to tailor your resume and your cover letter to each role. So you don't, you're saying?
Absolutely not, because this is what I was talking about, Winter. When you're sitting there and when you are just reflecting and you're researching the roles that you want to do, you can't tell me that you want to do 100 different roles. There must be a job, 1 or 2 job descriptions that you're so passionate about. When I start working with clients, the first thing I tell them, go bring me your dream job. And when they bring the dream job, that becomes their objective. You cannot be a solution for every job that there is. Remember, when they're hiring you to solve a problem. So you can't be, what's the saying? A jack of all trades, master of none. So I advise maybe having 2, maximum 3 resume versions with various objectives, but try to be in, let's say, 1 or 2 different roles or 1 or 2 different industries, so you can focus. If there is no focus in your job search strategy, you will not get the results that you want. You will get a job, it'll be any job, you will wind up settling, and I promise you there will be 0 fulfillment in your professional life.
Honey asks, is it professional to ask colleagues whom you work closely with, old colleagues, to write a LinkedIn recommendation?
Yes, absolutely. We are living in the day and age of social media. We're living in the day and age of where everyone is on LinkedIn. It's encouraged to network. I was a young executive in the late 90s where if my boss saw that if I had a LinkedIn up on my computer, they immediately thought I was looking for a job. But that is not the case anymore. Everyone is always connected with each other. And bosses today would rather see LinkedIn than TikTok on your laptop. So absolutely reach out to old colleagues, reconnect. There's always a holiday that's coming up that you could reach out and wish them a happy holiday or a birthday. Or honestly, just be human and reach out and say, how are you doing after the pandemic? I hope everything's okay with your family. Let's schedule a virtual coffee and just talk. When you come in with not like an agenda, me, how this person can help me get a job, and you just talk as 2 human beings, they will offer the help themselves. You won't even have to ask. But people are also not dumb. If they feel you have a hidden agenda, they clam up. You know this. Just use your skills from everyday life when it comes to the job search.
That is true. People want to feel like you genuinely care about them, not that you just want things from them.
Absolutely.
Melody asked, what advice would you have for someone over the age of 60 looking for a job?
I don't think that job search has anything to do with age. I think you are as old as you feel. I know that there's a lot of terms being thrown around in the media today, that there's discrimination against people of a certain age. There's this ageism in the workplace. There was actually a big lawsuit at IBM where the older employees who are over 55 were called dino babies.
Oh my gosh.
It is what it is. Just do the research, use the time during winter to research companies that actually welcome elders. There are many tech companies, believe it or not, in Silicon Valley that have a role called the chief elder, because many of the techies are very young and sometimes they just need someone that could guide them that has more life experience. So to the lady that asked this question, do the research. There's a great website called Glassdoor where you can really figure out what the culture is like in the company and look at reviews that past employees have posted about the company. And when you're interviewing, I wouldn't advertise my age, but I would definitely say that I am a lifelong learner and that I'm not only comfortable with mentoring others, but I'm also comfortable with others mentoring me. So when you say that, your age actually becomes irrelevant because many employers fear that older people come in, oh, you can't teach them new tricks. Once a professional is set in their ways, we don't want people like that. They cannot learn. You could address this question during the interview stage or even in your cover letter, that you are committed to learning and you don't mind to get feedback. So age becomes not a big deal.
That's a great answer. So yeah, always just age is wisdom. Anonymous asks a question about salary negotiation. When we apply, we are asked to input expected salary. Numbers are required, so we are forced to input numbers. What do you put? How do you negotiate after that?
Okay, so if you were present during any point of this webinar, the key was to teach you how to not to apply. Because what employers do is they're just building up their databases, and then they're looking at all the people that applied, and guess what? They call the ones that are most qualified at the lowest salaries. People, we are living in the age of data analytics. Companies are using the data to better themselves, to get more profits, to pay less to their employees. So the way to really get around that is not to go to the job boards. If you have to go to the job boards, your hands are itching and you want to see what jobs are out there, use them as a form of research. See what skills are needed, see what salaries are paid, and then implement my season system and hit up your network. At least give it a chance. You've been applying on job boards, you're not getting anywhere, so might as well try something new. You could always return back to the job boards.
So you suggest networking organically over applying on job boards?
Absolutely. And keeping a system, keeping a log of everybody that you're talking to. I promise you, if you sit down and you list all your old bosses, all your schoolmates, all the people in your alumni organization, all of your professors, all of your old bosses, all of your neighbors, aunts, uncles, everybody you know that has a professional life, I promise you, there's at least 50, 60 people you could start talking to. And that is the hidden job market.
What is your advice on, like, once you have those connections with networking and you reach out, how do you keep that connection going?
It's through follow-up. I mean, you have to know each individual a little bit deeper. So let's say with your professor or a dean of your MBA program or master's degree, you could be really upfront and say, look, Dean, I need help. But if you're talking to an old colleague, you know a little bit about them. So you could actually spend some time talking about family, kids, going to college, marriages, births, and all that stuff. So it all depends on your connection. That's why I really concentrate on telling you, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. If you're talking to an old colleague that you didn't have such a warm relationship with, they were just with you on the team, just reach out, do a catch up, virtual coffee, send them an interesting article. I mean, there's a lot of things going on around the world today. We could always share information with each other. And it's all about the follow-up. It's all about nurturing. It's all about staying engaged. You could always share news. You could always ask them for their advice. You could actually share with them what you're going through. You're working and you're preparing yourself to pivot in your career. Can you schedule a virtual coffee with me to discuss if you ever were torn that way yourself? If you ever faced that challenge yourself, I really would love to learn from you. That breaks the ice. People love to talk about themselves. And you know what? Where all of these hints fail, just use a compliment. Tell them, listen, did you get a haircut? Are those new glasses? Let's schedule a new virtual call. And that's it.
So I guess kind of treat them a little bit more like a friend than you're just trying to get something out of them.
Absolutely.
Mary asked, how does one set themselves apart from other applicants during interviews with recruiters?
So, that's a really good question. And that question, I'll try to answer shortly, but it's really a very long discussion. So talking to recruiters already has a red flag to me. I know this because I used to be a recruiter. So I know exactly the mindset of those professionals. Many of them are very, very good, but most of them are not. They're just looking to get candidates that they could submit towards a job and collect a fee. And if you have to work hard at differentiating yourself, and you have to sell a recruiter on yourself and on your skills, then that relationship probably will never get anywhere.
Mhm.
If you have to invest the time in doing a dog and pony show, I don't know if people around the world know what this means, but people in the US will know. If you have to invest the time in doing like a list of all of your accomplishments, then you're already talking to the wrong person. You need to invest the time in telling them and in sharing with them the impact that you want to create. Not just counting all of your accomplishments, but how you have grown through your professional life and the impact you want to create by working for them. This conversation does not make sense to a recruiter because you're not working for a recruiter. A recruiter is just a headhunter or a paper pusher. They will take your resume. If it looks great, they'll give it to the hiring manager. That's it. They're not going to advocate for you. And they also cannot speak like they are you. The most they could do for you is give you a chance to get an interview. And once again, the yield is very low because you could imagine how many hundreds and thousands of resumes that they see.
Oh,
So
that's very interesting.
I hope that answered the question. Maybe it wasn't like a quick fix, but it's a little bit more involved than that.
Yeah, I think that clarifies. That's interesting to hear, though. I didn't know all that about recruiters. Dennis asked, if you interviewed with a company and met some local executives in the industry you want to be in, but didn't get the job, what would you advise reaching out to them for networking? How would you phrase/approach it?
So let me understand this question. If you were rejected for a certain opportunity and you've met people during that interview process, should you reach out and stay in touch with them?
I think that's what they're asking.
Okay. Absolutely. One of the key things that I teach my clients is to have a really healthy relationship with feedback. Feedback is not negative and it's not positive. Most people, when they hear the word feedback, they break out in a sweat and they think it's going to be criticism. Feedback is not criticism. As a matter of fact, feedback, you should welcome feedback because here is a person who's investing the time. They're putting themselves in an awkward situation, an uncomfortable situation, to teach you and show you how you could be better at what you're doing. How can you look at that as something negative? You should actually buy that person a cup of coffee. So it all comes back to that question that Dennis asked. If you got rejected, let's say for a job at Amazon or Facebook, and you met some amazing executives along the way, just connect with them like nothing happened. And if they ask you, oh, you didn't get that job? Say, no, I didn't, unfortunately. You know, I'd love to hear your feedback. Why you think I didn't? I'd love to grow from that. Would you have a time for a virtual coffee? Talk about differentiating yourself. That's a differentiator. They will remember you forever.
That's very true. Yeah, I think a lot of us have hard time with feedback, but I mean, it does help you grow. So if you get comfortable with it, it definitely will help. Anonymous asks, what is your advice for someone with a large gap in their employment?
I have a lot to say about the gaps. So the gaps are actually more painful to the person that has the gap than the person who's reading the resume. So I'm sure there's a reason for the gap. I advise that during the interview process, you actually come out about the gap and you say, I know I have a gap on my resume, but honestly, I was taking care of a loved one for 2 years. I know it doesn't look so good, but you know what? Life happens. And I assure you that that gap did not let my skills go stagnant. I had a client, and I mentioned her in the webinar. I had a client that had an 8-year gap on her resume. She had 4 children within that 8-year period. She had a young family. It took her a lot. It took a lot for her to, put her career on the back burner. And she had a chip on her shoulder about having this 8-year gap. The minute that she started talking about it and owning it, she relaxed. She wasn't like backpedaling why she has the gap on her resume. People started respecting her and saying, oh, wow, that's amazing. You raised a family. It's incredible that you want to go back to work right now. She had the job that she wanted within 6 months of working with me.
Wow.
So I would like to say one more time to the gentleman that asked this question, that gap is scarier to you than to the hiring manager, but make sure you have a valid reason.
That's great advice, because if you start looking at it like you're not ashamed of it and it's something you did something that you're proud of during that time. I mean, it's obvious for the hiring manager to see that gap, so might
Absolutely.
as well be clear with them.
Mhm.
Linda asked, I was told that a resume should be results-based, not skills-based. Is this true? Will skills-based still work?
Yes and yes. So skills, and I like to call them competencies, are only a small percentage of your resume. So just the chronological order of how a resume should appear, your contact information, by the way, never include your home address. It's a security breach. You don't want people knowing where you live. So it's your contact information, your summary, your objective, your competencies, your education, if you're a recent graduate or if you went to a really prominent school, and then you get into your experience. When you're listing your experience, it has to be results driven, meaning you outline why you were hired and the results that you achieved. Responsibilities, results under every single job. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. Daniel asked, are job boards a complete waste?
No, they're not a complete waste. They're really great for jobs that are hired by the masses. So customer service representatives, low-end sales positions, let's say for a pharmaceutical company, when they release a new drug, they go out and they hire 500 salespeople. Jobs that are very vanilla, and there's a lot of them, job boards are really good for them. But I don't think many of you will settle for those kinds of jobs. So if you're looking for something that's going to be fulfilling and something that's going to be connected to your profession and what you want to do for the rest of your life, those opportunities are created. They are never found just laying around. Use the job boards. It's a big ask for me to tell you to ignore the job boards. You probably will not be able to do that, but use them for intelligence. Use them to take a look at the kind of jobs that are being posted, how long those jobs stay active, where the jobs are located, what kind of salaries, and use that intelligence to apply to the 4-season system.
This next question is kind of related to job boards. She asked if you recommend contacting the hiring managers directly, like after you apply for a job on LinkedIn.
It all depends how you got the interview. So if you got an interview through an introduction or recommendation, absolutely. Those lines of communications are open. You should really contact them. If you got introduced to an opportunity through a recruiter, you can connect to the hiring manager, but it's a little bit unprofessional to, let's say, the next day contact them and say, how did I do on the interview? So always use the person that is bringing the interview to you as the point of contact for the feedback. But there's nothing wrong with connecting on LinkedIn with the person that interviewed you and then reconnecting with them, let's say 30 days later, and saying something like, oh, you may remember me. I interviewed with you. I'm from Nashville. I didn't get the job, but I really wanted to pick your brain about your background. I was very impressed how you grew up in media. I have a couple of questions. It looks like we went to the same school. Do you mind having a virtual coffee with me? That's it. It's not going to work every time. Like those seeds that I said that you're going to plant, They're not all going to become flowers, but some of them will. And you don't need 5 jobs. There's no 5 of you. You only need one job that you're going to love.
That's also great advice for people who, I know a lot of people at Meetup are introverts. And if you're kind of giving them straight lines to say to people, which I know is very helpful for those types of people, because that can be intimidating.
Yeah, I actually provide templates. You know, my coaching engagements are very different because all of my clients are very different. I get to understand my client only after an hour, and I know what their where their soft spots are, where they feel uncomfortable, and I help them get unstuck. If they are introverted, I ask them, tell me more about that. And I help them work it out. I actually give them exercises and tips how they can work through that. I provide a lot of LinkedIn templates. I provide templates for resumes, for cover letters, for introductory meetings, for discovery calls, for interviews. You name it, the type of meeting that you're about to embark on, even a performance review, even a meeting with your boss if you want to get a promotion. I will literally provide a script with you and I will practice with you so it will sound authentic. It's not going to sound like someone else wrote it.
Wow, that's so helpful. We have time for one more question. So I'm going to ask, someone asked, how important is writing a resume that is suitable for automated selection systems? Any tips about writing a resume to make sure a human reads it?
Okay, so there is such a thing as an applicant tracking system. It's called an ATS. And that's why I recommend that all of the resumes that you put together are a simple Word document, no fancy formatting, no photos, and no icons. Because if those things appear on your resume, it will not transcribe properly into an ATS. Now, making sure that a human reads it, that I cannot guarantee because I never know how many internal recruiters a company has. A huge company like Citibank has an army of internal recruiters, and all they're doing all day long is looking at those resumes. But a smaller company may only have one HR person and one recruiter. So they're not going to get to all of those resumes, which actually gives you the answer. Why apply where a human will not even look at your resume? As a matter of fact, many of those ATSs have artificial intelligence element to them, where the bots are programmed to look for some keyword searches. So if the word leadership does not appear 7 times on your resume, you're out. Why would you want to work for a place that looks at you as a piece of paper?
Yeah, that's interesting to think about. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that sometimes those systems can't read the resumes if you have too much on it, because I've heard horror stories about that.
Yes.
All right, so I think that's all the time we have for questions. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your tips with us. I have a few links from Michelle that I will put in the chat. And one link is to her website. One link is for a special discount code on her course. So you'll get the course for $97 instead of $497, which is great. And there's also a link to her resume revamp, where she'll help you redesign your resume to make it look more appealing.
Yes.
So that is now in the chat for everybody. And before we go, I will also share a few slides just to close it out.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So a new organizer app has been developed that provides organizers with all the tools they need to painlessly schedule events and manage their groups on the go. If you'd like to participate in our beta, you can pull out your phone and scan this QR code. The top one is for iOS and the bottom one is for Android. So I'll just give you guys a second for you to do that. All right, so we also launched our podcast, Keep Connected with Meetup CEO David Siegel last year. If you'd like to take a listen, just scan this QR code as well. We have some great podcasts out on there. I definitely recommend it. And finally, as a reminder, You can view a recap of this event in a few days on our Community Matters blog at meetups.com/blog. Thank you again, Michelle, for being here, and thanks for everybody who joined us, and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.